Well, Frederick W. Crook is president of the China Group, a company that provides quality assessments of China's rural economy. Frederick and his wife Elizabeth have worked and served in both private and public sectors with expertise in Asia. He served as president over the Taiwan Taipei Mission. He received his BA magna cum laude in political science and Asian studies from Brigham Young University and a PhD from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. Frederick and his wife Elizabeth are the parents of 6 children. I should also mention Elizabeth's featured in our Kennedy Center 30th anniversary issue. So we've got a bio here of Fred, and you can read the bio of Elizabeth in the magazine and online. Today's presentation is titled The China Dream, an interpretation of contemporary wall posters. Please join me in a warm welcome to Fred Crook.
It's a real privilege and pleasure to be here among college students and also many colleagues and friends. Before I get started, I would like to note that a number of people have helped in this issue. First of all, my wife, Elizabeth, and I share an office in our house, and it's the scene of sometimes very intense intellectual debates. And so she's, I really appreciate her effort. In fact, this morning we were going over, and she moved some of the things around and improved it. Professor Heyer, right here, has been a colleague for a long time, and he encouraged me to go into this China Dream. He himself has done a lot of research on art forms in the Yan'an period and art in China. Also, I would like to thank, in a minute, I hope some of the special collections people from BYU Library will be here. But Dr. King is the librarian for the Asian collection, and I've given most of my books now, and they've thrown some away, I'm sure, and kept some. But the special collections, John Murphy and Tom Wells, I guess I gave my collection maybe, here's John. Come in, John. You can sit on the front row since you're late. John is in charge of the special collection, and about 10 years ago, I gave my complete collection and to BYU, and so the presentation today stems from some of the collection that is there. What you're looking at here is it turns out to be the theme poster for Xi Jinping's The China Dream. I didn't intend it to be that way, but we were just there 2 weeks ago, and this iconic figure is the dream, is the China Dream theme poster for all of China. Okay, let's see if I can make this thing work. How do I do this? Okay. Some of the posters are quite small, and some of them are very, very large, like 30 or 40 feet long and 15, 20 feet high. They're in public places, and as you can see, some of them are painted on white walls, and sometimes they print the artwork on fabric and then append them to the walls. So the geographic coverage is kind of interesting. I went to China in 2014 with the USDA official delegation, and while there, I take a lot of pictures, and whenever I see something interesting that's different, I take a photograph. And so, and then we did charity work in China in 2013, 14, and 15, and I took a lot of photographs there. So the collection that I have is about 40,000 plus photos. A lot of them are rural, some of them are in urban areas. When I see something that interests me, I take a photo. So they're all in the BYU Special Collection Library. You can see this is really huge. You can take a look at the truck, and that's one of the posters. And on the back side, they have this huge big, they're building some new buildings in the back, and so they've constructed this trestle, I don't know, and that's some of the work that goes into these posters are quite large. On the other hand, this was right near our police station where I registered every other month or so. And so all throughout the city of Beijing, there's little communities, and this is a community bulletin board, and some of the posters are there. The collection, I think, John, will be ready maybe in 2016, 2017. What we did, we put it in Excel spreadsheets, and now they're transferring it. And the photos, the physical photos are there in hard copy. I've also given them as many digital copies as I had. There are 605 photos about the posters in the last 3 years. And I've given a handout you can look at to see how the collection's been organized and so on. And I'd like to thank the special collection. I think I've spent almost a year in your special collections putting it in good order and so on. And it should be used for everyone at some point in time. Each report has a number and a geographical location. Being an agricultural economist, it's not interesting for me to know that corn or sugar cane is growing in Heilongjiang province. So usually each report that I have is identified by geography, a date and time and location, and then something about the information. So if you want a photograph, you can go into the index in the special collection, and you can look up the photograph. And then they have a system where you can ask for a copy of the photograph, and for a small fee, I think they'll send you the photograph. And I'm not sure when this is going to be available. 2016? I think so. Yeah. That's good news. Now about the China Dream. I think it's important as citizens of the world to understand other countries' dreams. The U.S., we have an American dream. It's not well filled out, but if you were Jewish in 1933, 34, 35, and you read Mein Kampf, and you understood what Hitler was about, you either stayed in Germany and ended up at Auschwitz, or you moved to New York City. And for Americans, we have the same issue maybe on the China Dream. We need to understand what it is that China is about. Also, I think this is really a good article by Graham Wood in Atlantic Monthly about what ISIS, that was a real shock to me of what ISIS really wants. And then we have also the case of the Japanese East Asia co-prosperity sphere. So I guess the point is that we need to be aware of what China Dream is. Let's see. Okay, I think, I'm not absolutely sure, maybe Professor Heyer can help me. I am not sure the source of the China Dream, but we think it came out of Xi Jinping. So who is Xi Jinping? Xi is the chairman of the Chinese Communist Party. He's chairman of the Military Commission. He's chairman of the political school, the party school. And some people say he's chairman of everything. He is a very, very powerful figure in China right now. And he gave a speech in the National Museum and talked about the China Dream. And shortly after that, one day, 1st of July 2013, all of a sudden, in my neighborhood and along the streets in Beijing, there were all these posters. So I started to take notice, and I started taking photographs. So a little bit about Xi. Xi Jinping was born in northwest China in Shanxi province, just north of Xi'an. And his first party post was in a little town right over here. Where's my deal? There it is. I don't know, can't make it. There, right in here. So that was his first party post in northwest China. And what's interesting to me is that a lot of the artwork for these posters come out of this northwest China experience. This year, two scholars did some work on the ideological context for the China Dream. So in China, there's leftists, and they basically, let's see, how do I make this thing work? There we go. Leftists like strong central government, party control of the economy, limited civil liberties, and the liberals, on the other hand, want some kind of a constitutional democracy, free markets, and some civil liberties. Then there's the China's cultural traditions, Confucius and cultural conservatism. In the past, the leftists and the China cultural conservatisms were at odds. For example, in the Cultural Revolution, the leftists went after China, Lin Biao and Confucius. And so they had a saying, Pi Lin Pi Kong. And so that they were at odds. However, in the last few years, there's been an ally or a junction between cultural conservatism and the leftists. So we can see that the leftists are pushing this program, and the leftists are helping out, so they're united. So, let's see. The art forms, we're talking about now about the art forms to present the message. So these are the forms. So there's art forms from China's past. There's the Northwest China paper cuts, peasant paintings, Nianhua style paintings, and then cartoon, and oftentimes woodblock. I've spent quite a bit of time in Northwest China, where we did some work among some students, and that's where our family foundation got started. But this is a wood block. You fold up a piece of paper, you cut, and it's a very traditional Chinese art form. You can see this is what we call a yaodong. It's a cave carved back in the Lurs Hills, and they put these paper cuts up in the windows, and then the light shines through, and it's kind of an art form. Well, it turns out that this art form is a major. Let's see. I want to go back. Oh, that's good. This is a peasant painting, what I would call a peasant painting, bright colors, and so I'll ask Professor Heyer, what part of the country does this represent? Northern Shanxi province. If you're familiar at all with China, you take one look at that and you say, I know exactly where that came from, in the area where Xi Jinping came from. Look, I got two. I think I wanted, okay, we'll see some laters. Let's see. I don't know. I don't get Nianhua. Come on, Nianhua. Anyway, Nianhua paintings started in the Tang Dynasty. And Elizabeth, can you run this and see if you can see where it is? My able wife and assistant. She's the technician in our family. Please turn on the TV. I can't do it anymore. Try. Anyway, Nianhua, so in the beginning of the New Year's, you put in a Nianhua thing, and and then at the end of the year, you put up a new one, and so on. During the Boxer Rebellion, Nianhua paintings were used to arouse national feeling about the foreign forces that were coming into China and also Japan. Oh, are you getting it resolved?
Got your slide about Nianhua. You can't get that picture.
Okay.
Some technological glitch, it just flips over.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, just do the next one. Okay, another one is that they used in the struggle for power in China, they used wood blocks. And so this is a typical, and I think actually Professor Heyer may have given this to me. But it's a wood block, red and black. It's a wood block print. And in this current campaign, they use a lot of wood blocks paintings. Okay. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about content. We have the China Dream, we have Chinese culture, national pride, party issues, and civil ethics. Okay, one more. Do one more. Okay, this is a Nianhua figure. It's very stylized, and this is the one that I started the presentation with. It's a red color, kind of idyllic figure. Anyway, this particular picture is the mantra for the whole campaign, and it says, "Zhongguo Meng, Wada Meng." In other words, China Dream is my dream. Okay, next. Okay, this is the wood cut. This is the paper cut. And typically what they have the paper cut, and then at the top they have some Chinese characters. And sometimes they're embedded. We'll show you copies of that. So it's harmony, the round shape. Excuse me, Huaxia was the ancient name for China. So what it's saying is, all under heaven have thoughts of returning to the China Dream. So this is China rejuvenation. It's coming back to the old values of China. We want to rejuvenate the country and so on. Okay, next. This is kind of interesting because what it says is, so the leftists are using this and saying, honest handing down the dream of Confucius. Classics will continue in the world for a long time. So they would never say that during the Great Leap Forward. But now that's what they're saying. Next. This is filial piety. And take a look at it, China's moral excellence. So what we have here is we have a young boy stroking his father's back, and the father is washing the feet of his father. And it's in Northwest Chinese style painting. And for those of us that have read ancient scripture, there are references to foot washing. And it's, I think, still, and I think in Asia, it's something that is still done. So this is, someone viewing this would say, okay, the moral excellence of China is we go back to filial piety, which is part of the Confucius part. Next. Now, in 2013 and 14, I saw a lot of paintings like this, the two values on a fan. So there's a Chinese fan, and on each rib of the fan, there's some values. Oh, this was automatic at the line of scrimmage, Elizabeth. This particular painting is a traditional Chinese painting, and every school children in China learns this poem. It goes like this: Chu he erdongwu handi he shatu sheizhi panzhong can li li jie xingku. And every child in China knows that. What it means is the farmer hoes the rows of grain, and every drop of sweat becomes a grain of grain. And so it's saying, it's both traditional, it's also saying we want to conserve and don't waste food. Okay. Okay, there's the fan. And each one of those has a value on it. And in 2013 and 14, they didn't really say, they just said, these are the values. But, excuse me, this year, 2015, it was very, very specific. These are the, it sounds a little bit like the Scout laws, but all defined by Xi Jinping. So the rule of law means, may not mean what we mean, it may mean the rule of law is defined by the party. But anyway, those are the values. Now, 2015, it's very, very specific. So this says, cultivate and carry out socialist core values. So these are the values that Xi Jinping wants people to pay attention to. And it's everywhere. 2 years ago, it was just values. This year, these are the core values of the China Dream. Okay, next. This is a little bit, when I gave this at Harvard, some of the Confucianists there were a little upset because it looks, what is the idea? You have a bird's nest and a tree in harmony, and everything is going well. And then the words say, have a country, then one can have a family. In Confucius terms, it's the other way around. Because first you start with yourself, you start with a family, and then you can have a country. So it's a little turned around there. Okay, next. Okay, this is kind of what I would say national pride, kind of national rejuvenation. So if you see inside, there's a dragon, and it's rising. And on the side, it has color-coded characters. It says Zhonghua, and then it has the red one on the right is He, means harmony. Harmony is very, very important. And then the green also has some meaning. So, and this is a paper cut. This is the paper cut art. Okay, next. Okay, that's also northwest China. And it says, harmony, be diligent in pursuing good things. So I think what it is sometimes in the past in China, husbands would not let their wives go visit their own family after Chinese New Year's. And so what is this guy doing? He's sending his wife off to visit her family after Chinese New Year's as filial piety and being nice to women. Okay, next.
This is our mystery one.
Oh, okay, yes. Anybody have any ideas about what this means? We can't figure it out. So you have a classic Chinese bed and all these little kids climbing up into the bed with their split pants. And I don't know what it means. What it says, wait, go back. What it says is, the Chinese Communist Party is good, socialism is good, and opening up is good.
Maybe it's the opening up.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a bathroom interpretation, I would say. I don't know. I really, truly, and we'll get to that. When we get to the end, that's one of the questions we have is how do we respond to it in X way, and Chinese may respond to it in a different way. Okay, next. I really got a kick out of this. When China kind of went away from communist Marx-Leninist theory, there was a moral, ethical vacuum. In other words, in prior times, China did have an ethical system of Confucian ethics, of how you were supposed to behave to your parents, to your colleagues, and so on. And then the party came in, and it was a different kind of thing. And now that's gone. They still hold to socialism, but Marxism really pretty much is gone. and there's an ethical vacuum. And so now the party is filling in some of the ethical things. So I really like this. You know, any of my grandkids here, my children here? Oh, I have one, yes. Okay, what does this say? It says, accompany your parents to view an old movie like Gone with the Wind or African Queen, one of the oldies. And there's a whole bunch of these. I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 of these, so that the filial piety is kind of disintegrated in China. And so they're having to reteach the young people to be nice to their parents. I think that's nice. I like that. Please take me to an African Queen. There's a little bit of also next on civic duties. Got one more? This has to do with global warming and reducing CO2 emissions. So that's something that they're thinking about. Okay. Okay, we're doing really well. Okay. When we hit 2015, we just got back, and there were some things that were new that we hadn't seen before. So this is this poster campaign is kind of an evolution. It seems to be evolving. The thing that really struck me next was when we got on the airplane and the trains and the subways, there's a little TV screen on the subways, and there she is. And so on the airplanes, the train, the metro, they were pushing this poster campaign. You know, as you were sitting there on the metro, there it was. So that was something we hadn't seen before. So they're using modern technology, and yet the form is, and the content is still the Nianhua figure. Okay, when we got to Xi'an, there was a new development. There's a lot of side space on buses, and it's not promoting Lenovo computers. It's the China Dream. So all of the core values, the socialist core values, are on the buses, on the sides of the buses. Next. And in Beijing, even the end of the benches, these are concrete benches in the public park, they have the China Dream. This is the bull. China's like a bull surging forward and so on. Next. And then there's a little bit of regional differences, which is interesting. China's a huge country, 1,300,000,000 people, and there's different party secretaries, you know, from Xi Jinping to province, prefecture, counties, towns, and so on. And so the propaganda departments see things a little bit different, and they improvise a little bit. In Xi'an, there's massive amounts of construction going on. That's where the terracotta warriors are. And there's all this construction going on, and it goes on for miles. And I walked down this street to take pictures, took my life in my hands as people were roaring along, and I didn't want the police to get me either. So it was kind of interesting. But, you know, miles and miles of these posters. In Suzhou, we went to Suzhou. Beautiful place. You ought to go there. If you ever go to China, to Shanghai, make sure you spend a day or two in Suzhou. But this is lower Yangtze River Valley, a typical kind of traditional poster frame. It's a window frame. And they put, so it's classic, South, lower Yangtze River Valley architecture, and they put their posters inside those frames. I thought it was very, very, very classic. Suzhou's a nice place. Okay, then in Shanghai, and I wish, who's your classic person here in charge of the Chinese language? Bourgeoisie? Anyway, I wish you were here. If any of you were teaching Chinese, I would like to know. This is classical Chinese. It is not vernacular, current modern Chinese. This is in Chinese classical style. So this is just painted on a wall not far from the Courtyard Marriott. And what it says is, 我们因文明而幸福，社会因文明而和谐. So, I mean, a normal Chinese might not be able to understand that. It's really classical in form. And I'm not sure why that is. Interesting that in Shanghai you have this classic text. And I think what this says is because we are civilized and then we have blessings. And because of a civilized society, we have harmony. And I think harmony is a theme that's stressed over and over because the party really can't achieve its dream if there's disharmony. So 和谐 is really important. The last one on the right, the lower, 和谐 is really critical to the party, and that's probably one of their main things. We need to be united. We need to have harmony so that we can achieve our objectives. Next. Also, there's some new art forms, and some of it has kind of Buddhist influence. The one on the left has a lotus flower, which is a symbol for Buddhism, I think, and that is okay. But what this says is, I don't know, Eric, maybe you can help me. I think what it says is 明于心, 见于行. And I think what it means is if you engrave harmony in your heart, then you will see the outcome of that. Thank you. I think that's about it. I took classical Chinese at Harvard. I got a B. I was so thankful. That's a failing grade at Harvard if you get a B. But I was just glad I got through it. Okay, next. Oh, yeah, well, this is a rapeseed field, and so they're introducing new art forms. In the beginning, they were all the same, and now we see, this is an example of the art form, new art forms. Okay. I think this painting, or this poster, encapsulates the real message of the China Dream. Oh, my wife is. Also, this is a classical Chinese thing on the left. But the one on the right is a wood block, and they're all over in Shanghai. And what this is, it might be a little hard to see, it says you should jump in and save people. And so, you know, it's a civic ethics situation where if you see someone drowning in the water, you should dive in and save them. So there's a lot of that. Okay. Up. One more. Oh, yeah, and then there's the Spirit of Lei Feng. That wasn't there in 2013 or 14. So the Spirit of Lei Feng is back. Okay. One of the questions we have, and this might be a good senior thesis topic or a MA thesis, is how are Chinese people responding to this? We had one colleague, a Chinese colleague, I showed the pictures, some of the photos, and they said, I'm young, I'm 23 years old, it doesn't mean anything to me, I don't care about it, it doesn't mean anything. So this China Dream thing, you know, I'm looking at it from my perspective, but what do the Chinese, when they look at it, what do they get out of it? By age group, old and teenagers, by urban rural residents, by province, eastern coast, middle section of China and the west. So I think that's a good, I don't know how you do that, but it would certainly be interesting to find out how the Chinese are interpreting their own posters. Okay, this is the conclusion. I think this is the essence of the China Dream. This is what they really want to accomplish. And that is the China Dream, the people are prosperous, the country is strong, and the citizens are happy. I mean, that's kind of what they want to have happen. So in conclusion, I think it's important to understand other countries' dreams. I think Xi Jinping's administration is using traditional posters to get the message across to their countrymen. I think the dream is not aggressive. It's not ultranationalism, although right now China seems to be on a real bender to come against Japan. But I think the dream says it's mainly domestic, will relate to international relations, but it's not like the Japanese ultranationalists, the Guangdong Army in Manchuria, and all of that brought on World War II. I don't see that at the moment. And so the China dream is calling for a great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. Thank you. Can you show one more picture? One more picture. Just go ahead, show up here. No, yes. Please help me. I took this picture. I have no idea what it means. Anybody have any ideas? What it says is to Chunzu, towards a small group, just say no. What I don't know is what these two figures on the side are. Does anybody have any ideas? I don't know what it means. I have no idea what that means. I'll have to consult some of my Chinese colleagues. I don't know. This was in Shanghai. Okay.
Looks like we've got about 10 minutes for questions. So just to remind you, because we're recording, we'd ask you to come up and form a line behind the wireless mic. Tell us your name and what you're studying. And again, we've got a few minutes for questions. So please go ahead.
My name is Kevin Huffner, and I'm studying international relations. My question is, do you see this Chinese dream mostly as an effort by Xi Jinping to, I guess, create moral authority or maintain control? Or what do you think the underlying motive is, I guess?
Well, I think, yeah, he's consolidated his power, and that's ongoing. And I think each Chinese leader has kind of a tifa, kind of a theme. And evidently I'm not sure this is his theme, or like Mao's theme was read the thoughts of Chairman Mao. And that's kind of what he's saying is this book, The Governance of China. He's kind of saying, read what I've written, kind of the thoughts of Xi Jinping. And on the face of it, a lot of countries want their country to be strong. China does not want to be invaded again. They want a strong economy, a strong defense system, and they want their people to be happy. Yes, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Pierce Bennett. I'm a political science major. So with this Chinese Dream campaign, where it's based off of the values of history, how does that take part in the modernization of China today, and how China's moving forward in modernization?
Okay. I guess in Chinese history, it was a big shock in the 17th, 18th, and 19th century. It was an enormous shock to China when the British gunboat sailed up the river and shot out the Chinese Navy, and the Japanese occupied Korea and Taiwan. Because always before, I think, the Chinese wouldn't like to hear me say this, but I think they were hegemony in different dynasties: Qing, Han, Song, Tang, Yuan, Ming, and Qing. They were the ones that dominated affairs in East Asia. And it was a shock when other countries came in and pushed them around. I think it's, if anything kind of motivates China, modern China, it's this business of coming to terms with what happened to them. And they're saying never again. Of course, who knows? History is long, but right now, they do not want other countries pushing them around. And I think as this transition took place, I think some of the Chinese Confucius scholars were worried that if they adopted Western ways, that their values would be subverted. So there was this Ti-Yong dichotomy, and so this the will to modernize and Chinese traditional values were sometimes at odds. But right now, it looks like capitalism or crony capitalism or state-owned fostered capitalism has done a pretty good job of building their economy. And I think now you can see them kind of returning, or yearning for something of them, of themselves. And so I think this is why they're getting back to Confucian, some of the Confucian values. And, just as an aside, I was visiting a village in Henan province. And ultimately, the worst living conditions I've ever seen in my life. And what had happened, some of these ladies, their husbands had died or ran off, and they were living in these hovels, really. No electricity. They were using candles for light at night. Their children had run off to the city to work, and they were in destitute poverty. I've never seen poverty in China like that, except maybe in Tibet. And so is filial piety a problem? Yeah, it is. I would say, you can see what the party's trying to do. He's trying to say, look, our heritage says we should take care of our parents. Are you listening, Sarah? So that is a big issue right now. I mean, it is a big, big issue in China, this taking care of your parents. So, okay, yeah, Bill.
Fred, my question comes from the poster of the trees that went past pretty quickly, but it was in support of concern for global warming. And I said to myself, would a nice poster like that help any Americans that I know adopt a concern for global warming? And my quick response was, no way. I respond to some of the images as though they have a certain level of naivete. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they would work in my country. Mm-hmm. So my question is, why do those who, the propagandists who are promoting the China Dream, why do they think the poster vehicle will work? What is it about Chinese culture that would allow them to think the Chinese would respond in a positive way to these messages?
Good. I hope someone's listening. I mean, that's a good PhD, master's topic. I don't know. I think this cultural conservatism is pretty deep. I mean, that's the harking, what value do we as Chinese have? And they certainly didn't invent the Industrial Revolution. They didn't, in a way, take advantage of the scientific discoveries that were already inherent in China. The West did that. And so what kind of values do they have? And they do, this Confucian, some of this Confucian, Taoism, so on. On the religion side, Buddhism's really an Indian thing. There are elements of Christianity way back, if you go into that, but I mean, Christianity is viewed as a Western thing. Hinduism is foreign to them. So Buddhism, Hinduism, Catholicism. So what they have is kind of Confucian values. And I think that's what they're trying to hold to. Now, I don't know about, they are kind of naive. Some of them are. I mean, the classical Chinese are not naive. I mean, you have to get your dictionary out and really think hard about what they're saying. But some of them, the cartoons, are very blatant. If you see a drowning person, dive in and save them. I don't know. That's why we really need to have someone on the Chinese side look into this. and think about, is it an effective propaganda? Marlboro has big posters used to have on smoking, and they thought it was valuable. And we need to do the same thing. Is it a cost-effective way of getting their dream? And, on the other side, maybe Professor Heyer can help me out a little bit. On the party side, there are party meetings all the way down to the cells. And my guess is that in those, they really do get into the, so you have about 50 million party members, 50 or 70, something like that, 50 million. And so there are people weekly that go over some of these things. Now the masses, I'm not sure. Good question. Do you have a comment, Eric? Why don't you come up here so they can get it? Eric's my buddy.
I guess 2 comments. First, these propaganda posters are one means of the Central Party leadership informing lower levels, just efficient information to lower levels, giving them cues on what the tone of politics is. Now, even this 23-year-old who says, oh, he's 23, doesn't pay attention to this, actually, I don't think he's completely honest. Maybe he's being naively honest, but all Chinese read this stuff and they take cues from it as to what is essentially politically correct within society at the time. In other words, what are the parameters within which you can speak and criticize the government? And so this does work in China, and it sets a tone that people cue off of in the way they behave and the way they speak. And Chinese are very sensitive to this.
Yeah.
They've been historically very sensitive to, speaking out of turn, saying just the wrong thing and getting in trouble for it. And so even young kids today cue off of these things in the way they behave to some degree.
Yeah, okay, good, thanks. Yes. By the way, the students have to leave to go to class, but us people that have graduated, you can stay here and I'll answer questions as long as you want. Go ahead.
My name is Ben White. I'm a political science major. My question is, do you see the introduction of this propaganda into Taiwan in any form? And if so, to what end?
Oh, let's see. Well, certainly, I think, I certainly think that the Taiwanese also have this, connection to Confucius also. So they have some of the same issues. My guess is they might be a little hesitant to take on. I'm not sure they want to see a strong China. So I don't know how they would, treat this. Yes.
My name is Bruce, I'm a political science student. As you've seen these pictures, I'm sure you've talked to people on the streets about, the posters that they've seen and stuff. In your experience, what's been the general reaction in urban areas and rural areas? How do you feel like people are responding to these pictures?
Okay, by and large, I just took the pictures. I think if I got involved in asking how people are responding, I might get in trouble. Yeah, that's something I might want to avoid doing. Yeah, that's why I raised the question. Somebody needs to do that. I did not. I just took the pictures as a tourist and left it at that. Okay, thanks. Okay, any other questions? The students are mostly gone.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Okay.